Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, I got a very awesome guest, and she stars in this new movie called The Dark Night of the Soul, which is a good thriller film, and she's amazing in it. And she was also in Darkness of Man and Terminator 3. She's the one that fights Arnold, and she was in two shows that I love, Girl Meets World and Boy Meets World. She did soap, she modeled. We're gonna talk to her all about her acting life. Kristanna Loken, and if I said your name wrong, I apologize. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Groom Show, and my interview will be coming up very soon. This is my groom, and as always, welcome to my nightmare. So stay tuned and let's have some fun. All right, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on. I'm really happy to do this. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Do I detect a New York accent?
Philly.
Philly. Okay, I was close. I was close. Yes. I'm from upstate New York originally. My
Nice.
parents had a fruit farm in the Hudson River Valley, about 30 miles south of Albany. And actually, that is where we ironically shot Dark Night of the Soul. We shot the film in upstate New York, actually, in a town called Wyndham, where I used to ski
Oh my
when I was
God.
young. Yeah, so it was full circle for me. I got to go back, and I mean, my parents live in California now, but I got to visit the farm. And so, yeah, Dark Night of the Soul is a special film for me on a lot of levels. That being one of them because we shot it near where I grew up and
Well,
a
yeah.
lot of memories there. I loved. I guess I'll just launch right into it. I loved the
Yeah, sure.
character of Alex. I really enjoyed the script. I loved her emotional journey that she went on. I always am drawn to characters that have a lot of depth because I think as an artist, of course, it gives you a lot to work with, but also as a viewer, when I'm watching something or drawn to a certain project, just as a spectator, obviously we go to feel something, right? We go to have an
Yes.
emotional experience. We laugh, we cry, we think about things perhaps as it relates to our life, even if the content is different. So for me, I could relate to Alex in some ways, as I do with all of my characters. Again, even if the context is different, but as a mother, what she's going through and is extreme. Um, and I also personally love survival films myself. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
they always put you in a position of questioning, what would I do in that experience?
Exactly.
Yeah, what
Exactly.
decisions would I make? What choices would I make? So for me, I loved various aspects of it. I hadn't done a survival film yet, per se. So, and I loved the way in which the different timelines were interwoven
Hmm.
in the story, through this extreme blood loss that she's experiencing. She has these, projected, wishful conversations with her father, seeking that kind of solace and tutelage in that time of need, memories of conversations with her sister, conversations with God and with her daughter in a form of a superhero that she loved. So there was
Yeah.
this beautiful flow of imagination, despair, pain, beauty, loss, all of the things that we really experience in life.
Mhm.
And this woman's will to survive. And I don't know if you knew, but Dark Night of the Soul is actually taken from a poem, an old poem.
I heard about that. I didn't know that when I was like looking at the film. Like I did not know that was from a poem.
Yeah, some people, what I've spoken to them, they had even heard of the poem. They knew of the phrase, like, oh, it's your dark night of the soul. So it's
Hmm.
when you're staring death in the face. Essentially, have you done what you've needed to on this life journey to let go into the afterlife? Or in your retrospective view, is there stuff you still need to accomplish? And are you going to hang on to life? So it's this beautiful metaphor and
It
journey.
is. Well, yeah, because I mean, all of us are. I mean, it don't matter what person you are, where you're at in life, but every person does think about that. Like, what's life? Like, did I do everything I wanted to do? Is there still stuff I want to do? How do I get to that level that I want to get at? Like, it's all kind of thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? There's one thing we can count on in this in life is death and taxes. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
nobody is free from contemplating their own dark night of the soul, really, on
Definitely.
this journey. So, yeah, it was beautiful on a lot of levels. And I mean, we shot the film in only 8 days. It was a very quick shoot.
Really?
The
Wow.
fastest shoot that I have ever completed a film. So, and for me, since I'm pretty much in every scene, I really went into it memorizing the entire script like a play because I knew that we would be under the gun as it went for time. I mean, I'm always 110% prepared, but this time I was like, there is no margin of error for anything. So what the great thing was is that when we shot it, we broke it up in chunks. We did the chunk of me in the car, and we were
Mhm.
able to shoot it sequentially, which was great. So you can get the flow of the character and what she's
Yeah.
going through for the most part. And then we did, the chunk of the scenes with my father and I, and we did those more or less in sequential order. And then we did the piece with my sister in the same form. And and of course there's a couple other little pieces here and there, but it was great to be able to do that as well, almost like a play, because I mean, I, most often I can only think of one other a film that I produced that I'm also in, which we can talk about later, but where we've been able to do it in that way, and it's really nice
Okay.
performance wise because you get this flow, beginning, middle, of end of where your character starts and finishes.
Oh, wow. And like, how did you first hear about the film and get to be get to be part of it? Like, I mean, you are the lead. Like, how did you get to be part and first hear about the film?
Well, it started around a poker tournament, actually. That I was playing in a charity poker event. I like to play poker, and with a friend, Tom Malloy, who's the producer, who also played my husband in the film,
Mhm.
and the other producer, Charlie, and his wife Courtney, who plays my sister. And we were all at this poker event, and Tom approached me and he said, I think I have this script that you're gonna love. And Charlie loved it. Everybody really loved the script. And so he said, you'd be great. Please, if you're open to it, please read it and let me know what you think. And I did. I read it, and I was so pleasantly surprised with the message. And I mean, this is a film that it leaves you with a little bit more, which I
Yeah,
really like
definitely.
about it. It leaves you questioning.
And like when you're reading the script for the first time, like when you're reading about the film and about the Alex, the person you play, what are your first thoughts of the film and what Alex is like, everything that she has to go through in the film?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first it's the overall impression of her emotional journey,
Hmm.
and this woman's despair and also will to survive, but also deep sadness and frustration of, without giving too much away for viewers here. She's got this extremely high position at the CDC, and and we're in a pandemic, and she has yet to find the cure, and it
Yeah.
just weighs on her, with her husband and daughter being patient one and two, and losing them to this. I mean, the
Hmm.
story couldn't be any more closer to home for her. It couldn't be any more heightened. And I loved that about it because right
Yeah,
away we feel this woman's despair. And so I
yeah,
think
exactly.
when I read it, I was really drawn to that because such a rich emotional journey.
Oh yeah, no, the whole film is it's like a like emotional, it's intense, and it's definitely a good like thriller too. Like you can kind of call it that too, like
Hmm.
thriller film because you do think like what if that happened to me? What am I gonna do? Like you were saying
Exactly.
earlier, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And did you have to like you play scientists in the film, and like did you have to do any research for it? Like like did you have to learn any terms or anything?
I did do some research. I always do a full, rich, specific backstory for my characters
Mhm.
because I had this incredible acting teacher, Larry Moss, and one of his quotes that is my favorite quote of his. He asked the question, "What would someone need to know in order to play you?" You really let that land and you think about how specific your life is,
Mhm.
the things that you do, what you choose, why you choose it, how you choose it, is this compilation of all these choices that have come before and all of your life experiences, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I did, of course, have to do some research on just the subject matter of what type of scientist she would be. But it was also the journey of her character and persona and how did she choose that profession. And a lot of it comes down to this perceived need of control that she has in her life,
Okay.
where, science is cause and effect based analysis, really. And in her life, she realizes that that is not how life works. And she's grappling between the two with trying to hold on to control and realize that she's lost it, in this pandemic and with losing her husband and daughter. So I talked a lot to the director too, who was the writer, Steve, and this was also inspired by a car accident that he was
Mhm.
in,
Oh,
and also a uh, his perceived need for control and what does that represent to him in his life and how he does his world. So that was really interesting for me as well because that is not something I am not a very controlled person. Control has not been something that's really resonated with me. I mean, I have a job where there is no control in it whatsoever as an artist. So if I needed control, probably wouldn't choose this profession.
yeah.
But look, everybody's got their thing, right? So that was neat. There were different aspects of the character as with any character that are intriguing. Some
Mhm.
parts are more like you than others, but it's always interesting to find what makes them tick and why.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm laughing at that. You said the kind of job you have is if you want to control, like this isn't it.
True, not in the arts, man. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and like the how the film starts, like the opening parts of the film, like everything is like so like it grabs you as soon as you watch it. Like it's intense from like the very start. Like
Mm.
Alex is hurt, she's bleeding, and she has to find a way out of this. And like how in intense was it the film?
Yeah, it was intense because there is high intensity throughout the film. Um,
Hmm.
and I give also a lot of credit to our director of photography, Pascal, because we worked very closely together in crafting a lot of the cinematography, so that when we're in the car, there's this frantic close up, way in which that it's shot. And then, of course, there's a different look and feel when she's talking with her father. There's a
Yeah.
dream quality. There's a different look of feel in the reality of the past with her sister. Um, and then there was just the physical aspect of me in the car and being stuck in that position for days on end. It was cold and rainy at times. And I wanted it to be an uncomfortable position, because I wanted it to be uncomfortable. I want it to look real. I mean, of course, didn't have the entire car on my leg like you believe in the film, but
Yeah.
it was awkward. Let's just say it was very awkward. So definitely at the end of the day, I was physically, mentally, and emotionally drained for sure.
Oh wow. Damn. And to play like a role like this, like how you're saying like it physically takes a toll mentally, like how do you get into like a mind frame to play that kind of role? Like what do you do to get into that space?
I think it's all the prep work beforehand of really living inside of this character's mind.
Hmm.
And a lot of that comes from the specificity of the backstory. And it's a process, right? So as I sit with the material over time, rehearse it, come up with ideas, start to learn more and nuance about the character through the dialogue, also through different just thoughts and feelings that I have about her. It really just kind of takes its own journey in the end. But it is a place where I find myself, like, you have to just sit in it and be in it, for that amount of time.
Hmm.
So there's also always a process after the fact of letting the character go and shedding the character and going back to myself. But it really does take over. Even, if like there's a project that I have coming up, not for a while, but I was just reading the first draft of the script, and already like I find my mind going there.
Oh wow.
My mind, and I start coming up with ideas and things and concepts and taking notes. And so, yeah, there's really an internal creative process that goes to creating each character.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. And like Alex is, she's basically facing death because she doesn't know like if she's going to live or die. And that's when your mind starts playing tricks on you. Like she sees different things. She even thinks she sees God.
Right.
And and um and when you're facing death like that, like life or death, like how was it to play a character like not knowing like what she's seeing is real or if it's just all in her head?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because we had to really be clear too of what those projected visions, what they were going to look like, how they were going to
Hmm.
feel in the movie,
Yeah.
and where do I go mentally when she's having those visions or hallucinations or memories, or through that emotional journey. So we I mean, when I'm in the car and I'm wedged under there, that is the reality moment. That is the sheer reality of the pain of, is she going to make it or not? Is anybody going to find her? Is the blood loss going to take over? And
Yeah.
then, then you have these other moments where it's this alternate reality. If she's talking to God or Amazonia and what those represent to her. So then it's almost like an out of body experience. So she's not in the pain, but it's almost like living a dream, right? Like if someone could film the dream that you have at night, that's what it would be. And I love that aspect of it too, because there was this whimsical, thoughtful quality about it that I think we can all relate to, right? With our daydreams or
Yes, exactly.
whatever it is, or like, what if that did happen? It's like,
Mhm.
you remember those choose your own adventure books? I used to love them as
Yes.
a kid. Yeah, they'd be
Yes.
like, okay, if you want this to happen, turn to that page. If you want,
Yes,
so
exactly.
this was like living her choose your own adventure. She really didn't know what the
Mhm.
next step was, but in that moment, to sit with like, how am I going to be okay? So she reaches out to, whether it's her dad or God or her sister or these people that have been influential in her life, to try to find the answers. And I think it's metaphoric of our journey of life, right? We try to find and seek out those people that we need the tutelage from, or that we want the support from, or being there for the other family members, or feeling like, man, I really missed my mark. I really failed. And
Mhm.
she's dealing with this major failure of like not finding the vaccine, not being there for her husband and daughter. And there's this internal guilt and blame. And I mean, it's like, it's pretty much every emotion you could
Oh,
have
no, yeah.
in this moment. And I wonder, like, you hear of people that have had these near death experiences and they talk about seeing the white light. And then it's like, do they go or do they stay? And these
Mhm.
flashes of their life pass before them. How could they have been a better person? How
Exactly.
have they achieved what they needed to? So I think in the end, the takeaway is really, go for it in life in the best way that you can, and just keep going. It's not always going to be the way you want it to be, as we
Oh,
well
yeah.
know, in anybody's life. There's ups and downs, but how do we persevere? And Martin has that great line towards the end of the film where he says, life is hard, living is hard. I mean, it's emotional for me just thinking about it, because it is. It's
It
like,
is, I know.
it's not
It is.
easy.
Yeah.
So what do we want to do with that, is really the question. And then it's, the will to survive. So yeah, no, there's a lot of depth to this story for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't you wish sometimes when you were born, like they give you a book to navigate through life, like, okay, this is what you're gonna do to get ahead, and this is what you're
It's funny you bring that up, because I've often thought of that. I think, there's no handbook to life,
Yeah.
no handbook to parenting, although I've read a lot of them. It
Okay.
starts to get confusing, because I'm like, now what did this one say? What did that one
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
So yeah, I've often wondered, like, and then there's the times that you're struggling with whatever it is, and you go,
Mhm.
if you knew, in a month or a year or 6 months or whatever it's going to be, you're at this place, you'd be like, oh, well, this really isn't so bad.
Yeah,
So why,
exactly.
you can just choose. You could choose both. You can choose to say, like, okay, maybe I'm having a hard time in this moment, and this is
Mhm.
why, but I'm also okay, you know?
Mhm.
And I can
Definitely.
choose that too. It's like two things are true. So yeah, I do wonder about that at times. What would that be like? And maybe that's why we don't have that, because
Yeah,
we're not
right.
there. Because maybe we
Exactly.
wouldn't get to where we're supposed to be if we knew we'd be there.
True, true, you're right. And Martin Cove plays your father in this film, and of course, like anyone who's a fan of the Karate Kid films, the Cobra Kai series, he always he always plays this like stern, like mean, confident guy who's always looking for ways to get ahead. And how's like working with Martin Cove like?
Yeah, he was great. He was a very sweet, kind-hearted man. And ironically, also too, his son is in the film,
Yes,
and his
yes.
son is a friend of mine as well. And so, um, it was neat, because I think it was also neat for Jesse, his son, to see the relationship that Martin and I built. As a
Yeah.
as a daughter father, and I know he's got a sister too, so I think it was neat for him to see on screen. And he was really touched by the way we worked together,
Oh,
so
wow.
that was an interesting perspective as well. But um Martin really gave it his all. He tried hard, he showed up, he was happy to rehearse and give a lot, and he really cares. So yeah, no, I think our relationship worked well together. Yeah, it was really nice to work with him.
Oh, nice, nice. Is there a certain scene that you love most from the film?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's a lot of good ones in there, but um, I would say there was one scene actually that they didn't put in the film, which I really liked, and that's my only critique. Is I wish that scene was in there. It was also a
Okay.
really cool shot. But I think a lot of the stuff with Martin I really did enjoy. But then also, working in the car, I think as an actor, um, I think I'm always looking for challenges in life in general. I like to push myself. And
Yeah.
one of the great things about a survival film, especially one on your own, like 127 hours or Castaway,
Yes.
you're most of the film you're working by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Also, another great challenge as an artist. And there's a lot of internal things that you can do on your own emotional journey alone that is different than working with another actor, right? Because then, like in any relationship, you're working off of what they give you as well. So it's interesting just working by yourself, and I enjoyed that aspect of it and that challenge too.
Okay. And another film that is out, like I mean, another a newer film that you're part of is you play the lead again is Dark Darkness of Man. And how was that film? How was it like working on that film and also being the lead again and working with Jean-Claude Van Damme, the
That's right. Yep.
kickboxer blood sport?
Yeah, he's a legend for sure. And he was also a very kind-hearted man who really has a lot of depth, which we haven't seen a lot on screen. We saw it in his film JCVD. We saw another side to him, and we do see another side to him in this film. And I think in that film, my character Claire really brings a lot of heart to the story, and she helps take Russell Hatch through his journey, and also seeing the softer side within himself. So, and James Cullen Bressack, the writer,
Yeah.
director, producer, he is a really, really wonderful, very gifted young filmmaker who has also become a dear friend. And I look forward to collaborating together with him again. Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed that film too.
I know you actually got to work with like three icons that kick a lot of butt. Like you got to work with Martin Kove, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Arnold.
That's true.
And that I mean that's something you got to work with those guys, right?
Yeah, it's true. No, I've been blessed. I've gotten some wonderful co-stars. Also, Bruce Dern, two-time Academy Award nominee.
Yes.
He played my dad in a film that my dad wrote that we
Oh,
produced, Fighting for Freedom. We also shot it on my parents' farm in upstate New York.
oh wow.
That just got
Okay.
re-released. It's available on Amazon. So he's an incredible actor, and man, loved working with him. Also, Sir Ben Kingsley played my dad, Academy Award winner. I mean, he's a wonderful actor. Yeah, no, I mean, I've been very blessed. I would love to work with, on the female side, Helen Mirren. She
Yes.
is,
Yes.
she's really been an inspiration to me in my career. I
Oh,
just love
okay.
her. I've loved watching her work evolve over time. And I think that's the wonderful thing as an actor, like it's so much also about your personal journey and what you give. I mean, I've been doing this now since I was 13 years old. So
Yeah.
clearly at 13 to now, you go on your own personal journey and you
Oh,
bring with
definitely.
you so much of your own life experience. I mean, so it's wonderful to watch actors kind of also mature and evolve. I find over time, Kate Winslet is another one that I love. Kate Blanchett too. I don't know why they're all English. I'm not French, but yeah. So yeah, there's some great people I'd like to work with too.
And one of the shows like I grew up with and was Boy Meets World, and I had the biggest crush on Topanga growing up as a kid. So, and what was it like to be part of like Boy Meets World, and then later on Girl Meets World?
Yeah, so people just love that show. I mean, it had such a cult following. Um, and those guys were great. And I
Mhm.
mean, they still, I shouldn't just say were, they are great because
Yeah.
they were wonderful to work with then. And you don't always get that kind of warmth and camaraderie on sets. You know, different people have different personalities, like in any job, you
Yeah.
know, and you hope you get along. And especially to come on the show as a guest star or as a reoccurring character, sometimes, you know, the cast can, you know, of course, they're very, well, not always, but close knit and working. So you never know
Mhm.
how they're going to be when they welcome you in or not. And they were just wonderful. They were wonderful then. And then coming back, that was such a trip. Now we're all the adults and we're the
Yeah,
parents
yeah.
of the kids, and then my character had married Minkus, you know. So that was awesome. And then recently, just this past summer, you know, they have a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, and so they're bringing people. They're going through every episode, and they're
I
bringing
know.
people back from. So I did the podcast then, and then they had a party, which was great. So we actually all, it was like a reunion. We all got to see each other and it was
Oh my
really
God.
wonderful. Yeah. So no, I really can't say enough good things about those guys. They're great. So yeah, that was a special show to be a part of. And like before I did the podcast, they sent me some clips of my shows or they sent me episodes or whatever. And just to look back and see myself at 17 or 16 or however old I was then and
Yeah.
go, wow, that's still me. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could see why that was me then and where I am now. It was such a trip. So yeah, that was great. They were great.
Nice. And I know one of your first roles was you had a recurring role on one of the biggest soaps ever as the world turns.
Correct.
And like a lot of people don't know, like soap opera work is really hard because I interviewed a couple the actors that are in soaps, and from what they tell me, constant it's constant work. Like they give you these like really big pages and a lot of lines to learn, and it's like an everyday thing, and it's like real fast pace. And how was that like for one of your first roles to be on this set like that?
It's another great question. It was the best learning experience I could have. As my first job, I was 13 years old. And you're absolutely right. It's an episode a day. I mean, I give those actors so much credit because you are learning an extreme amount of dialogue every day because it's not an action movie, it's people
Yeah,
talking, you know, for an
yeah,
hour.
exactly.
So it's a lot of dialogue. So I really got an awareness of camera angles, body positioning, hitting my mark, learning dialogue, and and it's almost also shot. It's on a sound stage with four cameras, so it's a bit like a play too.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was an incredible learning curve for me, for sure.
All right. And I can't do the interview without asking like the question about, your part of the ter Terminator world. You're in the third one, and what's it like to be part of that world? Like the Terminator fans are like real die hard fans, and to actually like be part of those films, and that whole world that has television series and everything.
Yeah, I feel extremely fortunate to be part of that franchise. It's kind of like the gift that keeps giving. What can I say? It was an iconic role, and I loved Robert Patrick in Terminator 2. I was blown away by his performance. I couldn't see a person in that character, like a human being. You know, he
Mhm.
was a machine.
Yeah.
And when this role came around, I just thought, oh, this is the one for me. I just knew it was going to be the right fit. When I was younger, you know, I've always been tall and had a deeper voice, and sometimes I'd be taller than the guy playing my dad, and I don't think they quite knew how to cast me. But this
Mhm.
was a job where there were no limitations. I could look and be exactly how I am, and it would work to my advantage. I've also been an outdoorsy person,
Oh, nice.
an athletic person. So all of these things. Also, I had a dance background. So learning
Okay.
fight choreography was not dissimilar to learning dance choreography, except you know body
Oh,
positioning is different. So all of these things just lined up, and I just felt like this is the job for me. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. You know, we had our 20th reunion. I can't, well, I mean, not literally, but I can't believe it since the film came out. And yeah, I've worked with Robert Patrick. He's become a friend of mine
oh, okay.
years. And I remember when we worked together, this was like, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago or so. We sat down and we talked about what it was like to be Terminators together, you know, and we had this conversation that really nobody else could have with that same shared similarity of experience and how that was for us and on our career and you know what we did to train and it was really cool. He's an amazing man. Get this, when I had my son, I ran into him at the hospital and he came
Really?
and he met my son and he said a
Oh,
prayer
wow.
over him. It was really beautiful. Yeah, it's interesting in life how there are certain people that come into your world
Mhm.
and they stay. And the Terminator franchise has stayed, and I'm grateful for it. And yeah, very happy to be a part of it on a definite worldwide stage for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, throughout like a lot of that movie, you kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger's butt. Like,
I did, yeah. Did the training for it. That's true.
yeah. And the the crazy thing about like watching those films and where we're at now in this world with artificial intelligence, like I that can actually happen. Like that's the scary thing.
It's true. Yeah, people have been talking to me about that. You know, rise of the
Mhm.
machines. Well, the machines have risen, and
Yeah.
what do we do with it, right? And um, I mean, look, for me, my personal opinion is that in the end of the day, I think humans will never fully be replaced because we have feelings and machines
Mhm.
don't. And you can input whatever you want into a machine and it won't have an organic feeling or
Yeah.
reaction, and that can never be taken away from us as human beings. So I think there's a limit, but it's been really interesting. And I, for one, at first, I just was a little bit of a skeptic when it came to this AI stuff.
Mhm.
But it can also be a really helpful tool if used correctly and
Yeah, if
well.
it's
I mean,
used right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be used to our advantage. So I think that we can find a symbiotic relationship between humans and machines.
Okay, there you go. And when you aren't doing films, what do you like doing during your free time?
Being outdoors, really. I love open ocean swimming. I
Mhm.
picked that up. I was living by the beach for a while after I had my son, and I've always loved to swim. And I just started swimming in the ocean, and next thing you know, I got a coach and was just doing some triathlon. So anyway, stuff like outdoorsy things, swimming. I'm also an equestrian. So I ride horses. I love to ski. I love winter sports.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got my son skiing now, so I'm very excited about that. I love to hike. I do yoga. I love to read. I've always got stacks of books next to my bed, and I say stacks because there are stacks. And depends on my mood, what I decide to pick up and read. Lately, I've been reading the book Caste, The Origin of Our Discontents. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkinson. And it's a very important book. I highly recommend it. I think everybody should read this book. It's very profound about caste and how it impacts our life, and where it comes
Okay.
from over time. It's not a light read, but it's a very important read. So yeah, so those are my hobbies. I just went to Zion National Park. It was amazing. Did
Oh,
some
nice.
incredible hikes there. I don't know if you've ever been, but
I never been. I did hear of it though.
yeah, yeah, it's really beautiful. So yeah, just exploring. I mean, a lot of time with my son. We just do, whatever our simple little things are that we like to do, whether it's coloring or going on the swings or whatever. Just time together. It doesn't have to be, a huge experience. It's just shared
Exactly.
time, right?
Exactly. Yes. Well, you keep very, very active and busy. You do a lot.
It's true. I do. I do. And sometimes I'm like, all right, this is why I just need to read and just
Yeah,
read.
exactly.
Quiet,
Exactly.
peaceful. Yeah. Yeah.
And what kind of songs do you like? Like what's on your playlist?
Um, well, I did just get my Spotify Wrapped. I don't know if you listen to Spotify and you get the
Oh yeah, of course.
year end. Mine is not entirely accurate because I play what my son also wants to hear, so it's definitely got his influence in there. A lot of Spider-Man from the movie and such. But I kind of like folk rock, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
I did choose a genre, so like Dave Matthews Band, Ray LaMontagne. But then I also do love my EDM. Um,
Yes. Yes.
I love to dance too. That's another thing. Sometimes I'll just put my music on and I'll just dance. My son and I'll have dance parties. We get the
Really?
strobe light out. Yeah, we
Oh
have
yeah,
fun.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So Chicane, I don't know if you know that English DJ, but he's also been on the top of my list for a few years running now on Spotify. So yeah, I like my DJs. But then I also like classical music, or I have a wide variety. And of course, now 'tis the season. I got to listen to my Christmas music.
Of course, yeah, it's the holiday.
Yeah.
So what do you think would be your go-to karaoke song if you were gonna do one?
The funny thing is I don't do karaoke.
Okay.
I can sing, I can carry a tune, and certainly if I needed to sing in a film, I'd be more than happy to do it. But I kind of feel like with karaoke, like I perform for a living and they pay me
True.
for it. So I'm
True.
like, why would I get up there and perform for free with no rehearsals? I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. So I don't do karaoke.
That's a very good way of looking at that. I like that.
It's kind of like my thoughts on Halloween because I'm like, I dress up at work all the time. So, I'm not really that inspired to play somebody else for Halloween. But with my
True.
mom, we do it. Yeah. We've been
Well,
doing Ghost Spider and Spider Man for Halloween.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's really
Nice.
Spider Man. Yeah.
And do you have certain foods that you love to eat? Like, is there like a food that you prefer over others?
I do. My morning routine is generally a protein shake. I've been doing that ever since, uh, I think even before my training for Terminator.
Oh,
And
wow.
I love it. It's a great way to start the day. It's nutritious. It feels good in my body. It's not overly heavy. And my son loves them too. We make them together. I had mine this morning. So
Okay.
yeah, I would say, but it depends. In my life, I have gone between not eating meat and eating meat. I just have listened to my body, and
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like I really do need animal protein. Although I have some ethical questions about it, but I try to be as earth conscious as possible. Growing up on a farm, we were of course
Yeah.
very connected with the environment, the climate,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
changing of the seasons, the weathers, the frost, the whatever it was. So that's been something that's really always been in my primitives. So yeah, I tend to try to eat things in a way that feels good in my body and is as ethical as possible.
Now that I understand, like I'm the same way. Like right now, I'm trying to, because like my diet was horrible. It's like meat, chicken, and all that stuff, and now I'm trying to like slowly go more like plant based and and vet vegetables and beans and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to slowly like get more of that in my diet too.
Yeah, you feel different. You feel better, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah, but again, I mean, and sometimes there are specific diets for different people too. Some bodies
Definitely.
need other things more than others, so it
Def
depends
Yeah,
on
definitely.
your heritage, your own personal makeup, a lot of things.
Oh, and what's your like? Do you have any traditions that you like to do for the holiday? Christmas is coming up. Like, do you have any traditions and what you eat for like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day?
Definitely. Yeah, it's interesting how families all have their own little traditions around the holidays. And we do Christmas ham. I
Nice.
think, we get turkey on Thanksgiving. So, and
Yeah.
this year was late. So we just had turkey. So we do, but I know some people do turkeys for Christmas too, but we do our Christmas ham, usually with pineapple.
Nice.
And then we are of Norwegian descent. So
Okay.
usually, as I think a lot of Europeans do, they celebrate Christmas Eve more than Christmas Day. So
Oh, okay.
our Christmas was really always Christmas Eve. We do the big dinner and we do the presents.
Oh,
And then Christmas Day was Santa Claus, and we'd have a meal as well. But really, our big one was always Christmas Eve. So
I kind of like Christmas Eve better than Christmas Day too. So I don't.
there you go. There you go.
And I guess the last thing I'll ask you basically is where could fans follow you and keep up with films that are coming out?
Sure. Yeah, I've got a couple other films. As you mentioned, one, Darkness of Man, that came out this summer. That's streaming now, as well as Dark Night of the Soul. And then I've got a film that's going to be in theaters the end of February. Big nationwide release. That's called No Address. And this is an ensemble cast. Billy Baldwin plays my husband. We have the singer actress Ashanti,
Yeah.
Angelo, Xander Berkeley, Ty Pennington, a great Patricia Velasquez. There's a lot of wonderful people in this film. This film was written and directed by a dear friend of mine, Julia Verdon, and it underscores the homeless crisis that we're currently having in America, which is,
Oh,
I mean, we have in Los Angeles, we have the largest in city homeless community. It's like 75,000 individuals.
oh
I
my
mean,
God.
that's as many people as a small city in and of itself.
Yeah,
So
I know.
we're really trying to raise awareness with this film and highlight what's broken in the system, what's working, and how honestly anybody could be a few steps away from being homeless themselves. I mean, it does not
That's true.
homelessness does not discriminate. So, No Address is an important film that will be out February 28th. in theaters. And then we have another film that my company produced, which I mentioned earlier, called Vice and Virtue, which I'm also in. We have wonderful ensemble cast in that film as well. And Vice and Virtue is about two celestial beings that take human form, come down to planet Earth, and invoke this judgment day on about half a dozen people that find themselves in an undisclosed location. And there, again, this is a very high stakes situation, very life and death. So this
Wow.
people is looking at all of the choices that they made in order to get here, and coming out of it, what type of choices do you want to make? What kind of life do you want to live? So this is a film that was really inspired to me with during COVID, when we were all staring our choices in the face, going like,
Mhm.
do I go there? Do I see that person? Do I not? What, it's like,
Exactly.
I felt like
Exactly.
I looked at my choices under a microscope as much as I did during that time. And then you think, well, how do my choices align with my values? Am I choosing things that are really important to me, or have they been kind of arbitrary? So
Yeah.
that's Vice and Virtue. That film will also be coming out next year. So people can follow me on Instagram, KS Loken, X at Loken Kristanna, or of course my official Facebook page for all the latest and greatest updates.
All right. Thank you so much for this. Like, it was really awesome meeting you and chatting.
Yeah,
Thank you so
me too.
much.
You too as well. And please send me the link, and I'll spread the word and share your show. And I hope everything works out for you. And it was really nice
Thank you.
talking to you as well. And I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Same, same. Have a great holiday and a party on New Year's Eve, right?
That's it. Indeed. Indeed. Well, you too. Stay safe and all the best. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye.
Bye.